Welcome to Virtual Realms. I'm Ranger 1. I've been doing a little work on the Clementine, getting it suitable to act as a mass hatchery so I can start breeding some stuff up to get some more color mutations. And I think that she's about ready for her trial run in that capacity. Today we're going to start out with something very simple, very basic. We're going to breed some color mutations into a line of Dimorphodons. I haven't done Dimorphodons yet, and they only have 3 body areas that are subject to color mutation. So hopefully this will be a relatively short video. Be that as it may, I'm still going to avoid most of the preliminary breeding, and I will just expose you to the finished results when I have something worthwhile. Well, there are definite advantages to doing my hatching on Clementine. One of the unusual properties of this craft is right down the center line. For whatever reason, there seems to be a slight repulsor effect. Well, I'll show you what I mean. It really makes hatching a lot nicer. Let me pop these guys out here. About 50 eggs. Now let's take a step back. I'm sure you've seen problems with clusters of eggs. Ooh, there's a green one. With the young being all piled on top of each other, but that is not the case here on board the Clementine. Well, here are the keepers, the ones that made the cut. As is my custom, a few of the finalists I've already set free on the island, the ones that weren't fully mutated or had one color that didn't transfer over but was still kind of neat. So it may, those colors or their offspring may end up in the gene pool out here. It depends on how the population expands and if a lot of wild mating happens. I don't think that these guys are going to mate in the wild though. They like it pretty warm, and it usually doesn't get that warm here on the beach even at midday. So I think that the only offspring we're going to see are going to be coming out of this hatchery. And that's okay with me. That's why I had so many of them that I kept. Well, the S Plus railing is just perfect for keeping the parents in and letting the babies through. You know, is it just me, or do these little guys from the right angle, especially if they have white on their head, do they remind you of the, what were they called, the skull crawlers from King Kong? Maybe it's just me. Oh, I almost missed this. One of the babies fell in the water. This is what happens when a baby Dimorphodon hits water. He's not a very good flyer yet. That's amazing. One interesting thing that I have discovered about young Dimorphodons: if they walk into water, they immediately take flight. And they apparently don't land. I'm assuming that their normal flight characteristics of flying a short distance and then landing again will kick in once they hit adulthood, but as youngsters, once one of these has gone airborne, I have yet to see one land on its own. And these guys started flying when they were babies, and they're now juveniles, and they're still airborne. So we'll just have to see how that goes. Now here's an interesting question for you. I was having a problem, as you may have noticed in a couple of shots earlier, where these Dimorphodons were hanging out in one corner of this pen, bunching up, and they weren't moving around at all. It made the egg hatching and the babies problematic. They were having difficulty getting past the cluster of adults to actually get out of the pen. It was over in this corner right over here. Do you know why that was happening and why it isn't happening anymore? The answer to that question is pretty simple, actually. As you've noticed throughout this video, Dimorphodons have a very strong aversion to water. They don't like getting close to it at all. And that's what was happening. This side of the pen, the side closest to me, was overlooking the water. And they were clustering over on the far side of the pen to get as far away from the water as possible. People claim and state all the time that the AI for the creatures in Ark is very simplistic, but there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. And finding out what those nuances are is really part of what this series is all about. How did I solve this problem? Well, the actual answer to that is pretty simple. All I did was build a bridge on this side of the pen as well. I'd been thinking about doing it anyway, to allow young creatures and smaller creatures much easier access from the island over to the mainland, and it's serving that purpose just fine. But it also took away their fear of being over on this side of the pen because they're not overlooking water anymore. And now I've been able to add multiple levels to their pen, and they travel back and forth up and down these ramps and all around the pen, really completely at ease. One simple addition and the problem was solved. And while I was at it, I decided that I might as well go ahead and bring all the tames over here to the center part of the bridge. I've made a little gazebo for the jerboas to protect them from any seagull attacks, and the packies are over here as well. And they all seem to like it and be doing just fine. Oh, and as for the problem of Ichthyornis attacking and killing my tames, my small ones like my jerboas, well, that's really no longer a problem. The Dimorphodons immediately swarm to the attack, chase down the offending Ichthyornis and kill it, and then promptly head straight back down, usually landing well within the confines of the Long Beach Preserve. This distributes the Dimorphodons all across the Long Beach habitat far more quickly and efficiently than if they were left to their own devices on the ground. So that's how things have turned out here at the Long Beach Hatchery. The Dimorphodon population is doing well. Oh, on a related note, you remember in the blooper reel a couple of videos back how I mentioned that my wife had found a little black bunny rabbit, a tamed one, that was hiding under her van in the local pet store parking lot, and we rescued it and brought it home. Well, as an update to that story, apparently, let's see, that was 3 weeks ago that we found that rabbit. And apparently the gestation period for bunny rabbits is about a month. So now we have a total of 7 rabbits here at the house. That has all the makings of a cautionary tale, doesn't it? Anyway, it's time to head out. Let's go on over to Clementine and pick a new destination. I mean, I like it here at the Long Beach habitat. It's tropical breezes and warm climate, but now I'm thinking it's time to head somewhere just a little bit colder. Anyway, you guys have a good day, and until I see you again, good hunting.